And it is live, and here is the empty chair of co host Matt. All right, let's begin. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Moody Boat Podcast, your weekly episode for news on movies, TV, music, and video games. Not necessarily in that order. My name is Mike. His name is Matt. Is what I would say if he was here. Just a solo show today. We wish Matt to get healthy. He's currently dealing with COVID. 3 years. Finally got him. All right. So since it's just me, let's dive right into it. We got not quite a lot to talk about, but we're going to get through it rather quickly then. And we start with as we always do, with the music section. We start the music section with the Billboard, and we start the Billboard with the Hot 100. And number one song is Last Night by Morgan Wallen. Coming in at 2, Kill Bill by SZA. At 3, Flowers by Miley Cyrus. Coming in at 4, Ella Vaya Sola by Esteban Armando Cross Peso Pluma. And rounding out your top 5, Calm Down by Rema and Selena Gomez. That is your only new entry into the top 5. All others remain the same. As for your albums chart, your Billboard 200 at number 1, One Thing at a Time by Morgan Wallen. Coming in at 2, 17, 10th mini album, FML by 17. At 3, Midnights by Taylor Swift. 4, SOS by SZA. And rounding out your top 5, Dangerous, the double album by Morgan Wallen, making it yet again a Morgan Wallen sandwich in the Billboard 200. If you didn't like any of those albums, we have new releases, starting with The Answer is Always Yes by Alex Leahy. There's also Walk Around the Moon by Dave Matthews Band. Yes, that Dave Matthews Band. Drastic Symphonies by Def Leppard. Yes, that Def Leppard. Gag Order by Kesha, finally releasing that latest album. 7 Psalms by Paul Simon. I Only See the Moon by the Milk Carton Kids. And lastly, Mirror to the Sky by Yes. So, with that out of the way, let's get into some music news. And we start with music adjacent. Rather, it's the Tonys. And with this year's Tonys, it won't be televised on June 11th after the Writers Guild of America denied a request for a strike waiver from the show's producers. The Tonys Management Committee will meet on Monday to decide the next steps. Currently, Ariana DeBose was set to return as host, but it is believed she'll cancel if the strike is still on. The Tonys were scheduled to take place at the United Palace in New York's Washington Heights. The ceremony is scheduled to start at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS as well as Paramount Plus, but that date and time may be in flux right now. The 2023 nominations, which were announced on May 2nd, saw the musical Some Like It Hot nabbing the most noms with 13, including Best Musical. Shucked and Juliet both earned 9 nominations, followed by Kimberly Akimbo scoring 8. The Jessica Chastain-led revival of A Doll's House scooped up 8 nominations, and as did Tom Stoppard's Le Polstant and the political satire Ain't No Mo. Meanwhile, the race for Best Musical Revivals includes Parade, Sweeney Todd, Into the Woods, and Camelot. But this is just yet another example of the writer's strike creeping into award shows. We saw this happen this past Sunday with the MTV Movie and TV Awards, with Drew Barrymore stepping down as host because of the writer's strike. And yet, here we go again with the Tonys on June 11th, potentially also going without a host because of the writer's strike. Not the only time we will talk about the writer's strike, but we will talk about it later. And just a quick note, fan of the show, Christy, has said that she has expressed her deepest disappointment and how mad she is that the writer's strike has made them cancel the Tonys. Although I'm going to assume that's not actually at the writers' strike themselves, but at the people who won't make the deals, which we'll get to later. Our second story has to do with the country's superstar. I don't know if a superstar is the right term. Current country on the rise, star on the rise, I'd say, Jimmy Allen. Well, he's not in the news for good reasons, as he has been suspended by his agency and management and terminated by his publicist following a sexual assault and battery lawsuit lodged against him. A spokesperson for UTA tells Variety, quote, "We have suspended our representation of Jimmy Allen due to the recent allegations against him, which we take seriously," end quote. Allen has been accused of rape, sexual assault, and harassment by his former day-to-day manager, who sued the singer and his former management firm, alleging that she was manipulated and groomed by Allen into an abusive sexual relationship while she worked on the singer's management team. Allen did admit to a sexual relationship with the woman, but claims it was consensual. In a statement to Variety, he called the allegations, quote, "deeply troubling and hurtful," and said they were false and extremely damaging. Allen, meanwhile, was put on suspension by his label, BBR Music Group, within hours of the lawsuit being filed. The label is also putting on hold all business activity with the singer, including promotion of his new single. Now, we just recently saw Jimmy Allen do the Apple TV Plus show, My Kind of Country, where he was a big part of that. He was one of the hosts. He was one of the judges. And he's also Grammy nominated last year for Best New Singer. His song was Grammy nominated for Best Country Song. So he is a star on the rise. And to see this just occur means that something, they're taking these actions really seriously, especially when you're dropped by your management, by your agency, by your publicist. Basically, everyone's dropping him. Everyone is now officially blackballing him until these allegations are resolved. Now, as noted, these are allegations. We're not here to take sides, but anytime something like this does happen, we need to tread with caution until the story fully develops, until the lawsuit fully reaches its conclusion. So we'll keep an eye on this, and maybe we'll see what happens in the upcoming summer here. Let's see here. Moving on, I didn't really listen to any new music, but I did see that the Jonas Brothers put out the album. Did not get a chance to listen to it because this does something else, but I'll get to that in a bit later because it has to deal with TV. So, in the meantime, let's move right along then into video games. And we start with new releases. And we have Firmament for the PS4, PS5, and PC. Lego 2K Drive racing game from Legos out for everything. And lastly, Humanity for the PS5, PS4, and PC. And I believe Humanity is also available for PS Plus Extra members. It's one of their free games for the month. All right, so let's get into some video game news. And we start with Ubisoft. And whenever we start with Ubisoft, it's never for the good. And this is another one of those stories because after many of its games have been delayed or, in general, underperformed in sales. Ubisoft has now let go of 60 employees without advance notice or warning. Now, this news may seem small compared to other similar instances with companies like 343 Industries and EA, but it follows after a stream of bad news for Ubisoft. Now, the publisher has released a statement about laying off 60 workers, citing which of Ubisoft's office has been affected. However, none of the employees were even told that the restructuring effort was underway, only to find out once the change had already left them without a job. In a statement from Ubisoft, it cites that the reason for the layoffs is due to its customer relations center team, quote, evolving its organization in the Newcastle, UK and Cary, North Carolina offices. The initiative includes letting go a few members of the customer relations team that worked the recent X, X Defiant closed beta, which is yet another game in Ubisoft's lineup that has had some concerns surrounding it arise from fans as the publisher continues to struggle. In addition, some employees from other departments than just customer service have expressed being cut from the company despite a lack of recognition officially from Ubisoft. Yet another in a long line of stories of Ubisoft just basically being a bad business to work with, especially if you're just being let go without any warning. 60 people is a lot. I mean, it's a whole team, it's a whole division, essentially. Even though you can, even though the story tries to paint it as they're just customer service, hey, customer service is a part of the company. You need to make sure that your customers are happy, and you get that through customer service. To them to just completely drop 60 employees out of the blue is not good business, not good customer service, and definitely not good PR now that the story is out. So once again, just Ubisoft being terrible at business, just being a terrible company in general. Um, I know we haven't even played a Ubisoft game in a while, even though most of them are available via Game Pass or PlayStation Plus now via Extra, but there's just no reason to play it. And I hope that these 60 employees who are just fired are able to find new jobs rather quickly. In other big business news, a little bit of a follow-up story. The British regulator, Competitors and Markets Authority, or the CMA, have imposed additional restrictions on Microsoft's proposal to purchase Activision Blizzard. If you remember 2 weeks ago when we talked about the CMA uh, for the EU, they were essentially going to block Microsoft's deal, Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard and King. We always leave them off, but they're a big part of this too. So this development arrived shortly after the same agency, as I said, blocked Microsoft Activision Blizzard's acquisition in late April. Its latest order hence states that Activision Blizzard is forbidden from acquiring any kind of direct or indirect stake in Microsoft without prior approval from the CMA. The interim order hinges on the CMA's rejection of the proposed acquisition surviving second instance scrutiny. Both Microsoft and Activision Blizzard previously confirmed plans to appeal the regulator's decision to block their $69 billion deal. So this is just the contingency that if the block still goes through past the second instance of scrutiny, Activision Blizzard still would not be able to purchase any kind of stake in Microsoft and vice versa. Basically, they want to keep those two companies separate should this merger not happen. They see them as too big, and if they have, what's it like, hands in each other's pies, whatever the saying is, if they start doing cross business with them, that it could lead to more irregular business practices in the EU. Uh, I don't know if I see this one actually sticking because there's a lot of moving parts, especially when you start saying directly or indirectly via shell companies. The indirect part is very hard to prove, although if they're trying to put it in writing, they're trying to basically hamper any type of monopoly that they see in the games industry. Speaking of monopoly in games, my time has mainly been dominated by uh, Star Wars Jedi Survivor when I can play. Now, the big release that everyone around video games is talking about is Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Matt will be talking about that next week when he plays it. But so far, technically, that is the biggest story this week. It did release yesterday as of this recording, and current reviews are out, giving it 10s all across the board, 9s, if 9s and 10s, just calling it a perfect game. Even Metacritic gave Tears of the Kingdom a 96 aggregated score. So it's doing good, but I don't know if I'm going to play it. And I'm actually going to wait to see what Matt has to say about the game because it does look like something that I may enjoy, may also be something that I could get lost in. Also, just maybe something I'm just bouncing right off. So just to give some context on that 96 score for Metacritic, it's not saying that the game is that good. It's just saying that out of everyone who plays the game, it's saying that likely of you enjoying your time playing the game is a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. It's their review saying you will mostly enjoy what the game provides. That's why they're giving it such high scores. It's not a perfect game, especially since it's running on the Switch and has limited power. But for what it can provide and what the output is, they're saying that it is well worth the money, time, and investment for Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Although they did say that about Elden Ring, and I bounced immediately right off of that. So, mileage may vary on whether or not you're going to get Tears of the Kingdom, but I'm going to assume that one, either your mind's already made up, two, if you've seen the scores, your mind's already made up, and three, uh, it's going to be one of the best selling games of the year, and it's only May. So I'm going to assume our next story next week is going to be how much it actually sold in its first week. With that, I think everything else for video games. So we'll just move right along and literally chugging right along here into television. And we start television with the Sports Corner. Do-do-do. And do-do-do-do. The NFL had its release schedule this past week. And some of the release schedule videos actually hit the nail on the head. Some of the top videos were the Bears doing their representation of The Bear, the TV show, the Vikings in a one take drone shot through the facility, which I thought was really cool. The Chargers with their, once again, back at it anime style release video. But the best video comes from the Titans, which technically did two videos. The first one was their very produced one, which was a one take through a bar on Broadway, showcasing the schedule. But their second one that was posted to Twitter and social media and done for what looked like zero budget was go out to the streets of Broadway and ask the drunken people out there, what team is this based on the logo for their schedule? And that video is hilarious. I think that video won. Uh, Several of the team names were trending on Twitter because of it. And even one team changed its handle because of some of the answers that were provided. If you haven't seen that Titans schedule release video, Please go check it out. It is hilarious. In other NFL news, a couple weeks ago, we talked about the Commanders being sold, and it looks like that will happen. The next NFL owners meeting is set to take that up as a matter of business for the sale of the Commanders for $6.05 billion. The NFL owners meeting is occurring on May the 25th, 24th or 25th, which is in 2 weeks. So Dan Snyder may officially be out as of that time. Moving on to some playoff sports. The NBA has its Western Conference Finals set with the Denver Nuggets, number 1 seed Denver Nuggets, taking on the number 7 seed Los Angeles Lakers. Meanwhile, in the Eastern Conference, the number 8 seed Miami Heat advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. They will play the winner between the Philadelphia 76ers and Boston Celtics, who went to Game 7, and that will be tomorrow as of this recording. So, coming down to the semifinals, well, the conference finals for basketball, and same thing for hockey, as the Carolina Hurricanes and the Miami Florida Panthers in Miami. The Florida Panthers, not to be confused with the Carolina Panthers, and the Carolina Hurricane have both advanced to the hockey conference finals. I believe those are both Eastern Conference finals, so they will face off against each other. The other teams, the West and the Metro, for the Western Conference, are still going into Game 6 and 7, which will be taking place today and Monday. In MLB news, the Tampa Bay Rays continue their streak as they are the only team with under 10 losses. Actually, I think they lost yesterday, so they may have hit 10 losses yesterday when they lost to the Yankees. Let me do a quick look up on that because I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Where's my standings? And yes, they did. It is official. The Tampa Bay Rays have hit 10 losses as of last night. Technically, that's still the best record in the league at 30-10. But yeah, first team to hit 30 wins on the season. Congratulations to the Tampa Bay Rays. We'll see how you continue to play that through the dog days of summer. Meanwhile, in Home Run Watch, your current leader is Pete the Polar Bear Alonso from the Mets with 13 home runs. So congratulations to Mr. Polar Bear. We look forward to seeing you once again in the Home Run Derby. In other football news, the USFL has a new top team, the New Orleans Breakers, as they are the only undefeated team currently in the league with 4-0, meaning that every other team has at least one loss, but on the flip side, at least every team has at least one win. So there won't at least be a winless team in the USFL this season. As for the XFL, they had their XFL honors last weekend with DC Defenders quarterback Jordan Ta'amu named the XFL Offensive Player of the Year, and the Vegas Vipers linebacker Pita Tamu Epunu named the XFL Defensive Player of the Year. And the DC Defenders head coach, Reggie Barlow, named the XFL Coach of the Year. Now, I know I mentioned this last week, but I technically got it wrong. The XFL championship game between the Defenders and the Renegades was not last week. It was this week. They did the Super Bowl thing where they give everyone a week bye and then play the championship game. So that is today on ESPN and ABC. as of this recording. So next week we will have a champion for the XFL. Let's see here. Anything else in sports that I can think of real quick? No, golf just being golf and continuing. Nothing happening there. We're Indy car racing is happening. Oh, it was May the 6th last week. That's right. Last week, May the 6th, was the Kentucky Derby. And your winner for the Kentucky Derby was Mage, I want to say. Who won the Kentucky Derby? Yeah, Kentucky Derby winner Mage. So congratulations to Mage for winning the Kentucky Derby. Okay, sure. Good luck at the Preakness. Trying to become the 5th horse in the last 12 years to win the first 2 legs of the Triple Crown. Mage 15-1 long shot last week. All right. And with that, I think that's it for move with sports. So let's get into some TV news, and we'll start with the Disney earnings call, where CEO Bob Iger announced that Disney will be combining Hulu content with Disney Plus content into one app in the US. The company will begin to roll out the new app by the end of this calendar year. For now, this option will only be available to consumers who have subscribed to both services. Iger added that Disney's purchase of Comcast's stake in Hulu still has not been fully determined, but after studying the business potential, he now sees a benefit in retaining general entertainment content, as seen on Hulu, in combination with Disney. We've already started to see some of this creep over, like with Abbott Elementary, with the Marvel stuff that used to be on there, but now got changed into Marvel, where stuff that is on Hulu is creeping into Disney, but they're more or less trying to keep them separate. Now it is worth pointing out that this is specifically with the US because they already do it internationally under the banner of Star or Hotstar. So everyone internationally under Hotstar already has everything under one banner. This is just specifically splitting up the US content between Disney Plus and Hulu. But hey, if you're subscribed to both, and we know that they offer the Disney Plus bundle, that you'll just get both of them combined. It's weird that they're not including ESPN in the one app feature, because that would push more people to subscribe to and or watch ESPN Plus. But hey, one step at a time, I guess. Speaking of one step at a time and one day at a time, the Writers Guild of America, the WGA, is still on strike. No deal has been made thus far. As such, they have decided that they will picket Boston University's 2023 commencement speech after the university confirmed that Warner Brothers CEO David Zaslav will remain as this year's commencement speaker. Boston University first announced Zaslav as commencement speaker on May the 4th, alongside a list of this year's honorary degree recipients, which include Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Jackson Brown. The announcement spurred backlash from members of the Guild, including some alums, as well as several Boston area Democratic Socialists of America groups. In a previous statement, The WGA called the decision to select Zaslav as one of the school's commencement speakers a poor decision and noted that both guild members based in Boston and students enrolled in the university's film and television program have expressed deep disappointment over the choice to give the university platform to the WBD CEO. Quote, Boston University should not give voice to someone who wants to destroy their students' ability to build a career in the film and TV industry. It added that the university should expect students, Writers Guild members, as well as other unions and community groups to picket Zaslav's commencement address. Now, for those of you who don't know or follow David Zaslav, big part of this what we cover here in the Media Boat podcast, especially the past year, where I believe he was our story of the year last year. And once he took over Warner Brothers from Warner Brothers Discovery in the merger, that he had cut all a majority of content from HBO Max, that he purged about $2 billion of content, just gone, locked up in the vault, cannot be sold, moved anywhere. That all that content created just does not exist anywhere. That he's also part of a CEO of the big media conglomerates that are opposing the Writers Guild and not giving them the benefits, the pay, and the tools they need to basically do their job, that they're trying to undercut them at every single step. So to give them a voice, yeah, you're going to, it's not exactly a reading the room type of scenario here for Boston University to continue with CEO David Zaslav for its commencement speech. I do expect picketing, especially as we get closer here. David Zaslav is a big figurehead. And yes, while it's nice to get big figureheads for your commencement speeches, it's also important to understand what's going on in current events and whether you want someone like that to speak at your commencement, especially since you have someone like Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is getting an honorary degree and could do this speech just as well. All right. Let's continue on then, since Matt isn't here to step up on his soapbox and speak more about it. Let's go on into some thoughts. And I watched something new this week on Disney Plus. Hey, the Muppets are back. Well, not those Muppets that you're thinking of, but rather Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, the band that always backed up Kermit the Frog in the original Muppets show, and just the general Muppets band in general, Electric Mayhem, is back with The Muppets Mayhem, a 10-episode series on Disney Plus starring Lily Singh. And hey, if that name sounds familiar, then you probably stayed up way too late because she did Late Night with Lily Singh. Same person. Uh, she plays a record producer for On Its Last Legs to get the Muppets to create an album in order to save the studio. In going through some paperwork, turns out the Electric Mayhem signed a deal to create an album, went on tour, and never stopped touring, which is a hilarious concept for the Muppets. That if you're on tour, you don't have time to go into a studio to make an album. So if you're on tour, you just constantly are on tour, and there's no stopping. And that's kind of like where this begins. It's a little wink and a nod to the music industry, and it's kind of almost perfect, I want to say. Someone actually understood what makes the Muppets, and like actually gave them the tools and utility to make this series quite as endearing as it is. It is produced by Adam Goldberg, who did The Goldbergs on ABC. So it does have that kind of connection, that kind of humor. But at the same time, it's also a very heartwarming story about like family and growing up and just music in general and like how difficult the music industry can be. There's also one episode specifically dedicated and calls out the Beatles Get Back documentary, which Peter Jackson did and put on Disney Plus. There's an entire episode dedicated just to that, doing a rockumentary. It's really, really fun. It's really hilarious. And the opening song that they do is really, really good. It's their intro song. It's great. It makes you not want to skip the intro. Not many songs really want to do that. It's an earworm. It's really good. There's a lot of good, not just covers like musical covers that the Muppets do, but also some original songs that they do as well. Uh, and it really dives into all aspects of the band, not just Dr. Teeth, not just Janice, but Zoot, Lips, and Animal. I mean, you got to have Animal in there, but the main faces that you'd associate with the band, like Dr. Teeth, like Animal, and Janice, they're there. They do have a strong presence, but it does, because it is a TV series. It is 10 episodes. It does give you the opportunity to delve into the full band, and that's something that I really really liked about this. It's like, okay, like I know these characters, but now like I really know these characters, man. Uh, and like how they formed. Definitely a good backstory to it, and I, I it's hard to say if I want to see more of this or just more of the Muppets in this kind of style, because the Muppets themselves in Disney and Disney owned aren't being utilized in a uh, very useful. Last thing that they did was, well, no, I would say it's the Muppets period TV show, but they did the Muppets Haunted Mansion a couple of years ago, and that was just filled with just celebrity cameos, and we have to use the Muppets. This also has celebrity cameos in it, but it does feel more Muppet Central driven, though. Uh, there is a bit of a love story with Lily Singh and Taj Mowry, which is also in this Blast from the Past, aka like name I haven't heard in a while. But it's fun. I had a lot of time enjoying this show, lots of heart into it, and I think just having the Muppets be their Muppety version of it uh, really, really pays off. Somebody in there in that writing room, in the showrunner, really, really understands the Muppets, and I'm really, really happy with this. I don't know if it's going to be on my top 5, but currently it is. We'll see what happens with the rest of the year. It's really that good, and it's so good that I put on the album. Kind of dropped a little hint in there in the music section, but the Muppets Mayhem original soundtrack album is officially out on streaming services. So I put that on after I was done watching the show because I couldn't get enough of that opening song, Rock On. But yeah, that's Muppets Mayhem. It's on Disney Plus. All 10 episodes are currently available. And enjoy. If you have nostalgia for the Muppets and just for like music in general, I think it's right up your alley. Let's see here. Other than that, it is coming to the end of May, so regular TV seasons will be officially wrapping up with their season finales, and for some, series finales as the writers' strike continues. Speaking of series finales, let's get into some cancellations and renewals. And we start with SWAT on CBS. Will get a 7th season finale. Meanwhile, East New York canceled after one season on CBS, and True Lies canceled after one season on CBS. Man vs. Bee canceled after one season on Netflix. So I guess Bee won that round. The Outlaws will get a third season on Prime Video. Walker will get a fourth season on the CW, but its spin-off Walker: Independence canceled after one season on the CW. Also canceled on the CW, Kung Fu after 3 seasons, and The Winchesters after 1 season. Fantasy Island canceled after 2 seasons on Fox, but Fox did pick up Animal Control for a second season. So I guess congrats, Joel McHale. You now have another TV show more than one season. That counts for 3 if you include the soup. We also have Password picking up for a second season on NBC. Game show. I expect to see more of these in the coming weeks. Lockwood and Co. canceled after one season on Netflix. And lastly, Lopez versus Lopez will get a second season on NBC. As for deaths, just one of note this week. Jacqueline Zeman, age 70, actress, famous on General Hospital, One Life to Live, and The Bay. Just a prolific career on daytime soap television. All right, let's move right along here and go right into the movies, our last section. And we'll start the movies with the weekend box office. And no surprise, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is your number one film, but only at $118 million. That is one of the lowest openings for a Marvel film in some time. Even if it is considered, we do consider this the pandemic era, 118 million for Marvel isn't that, it's not that good. I think Ant-Man, even Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumanium hit 125. So, not really off to a good start, but hey, it is the start of the summer movie season, so maybe I'll just pick up steam. It has been getting good reviews, so maybe it's not something that you want to necessarily rush out and say goodbye to. It could also be a factor of just the type of Marvel films that have come out before this, that if it's going to come out on Disney Plus, maybe I don't need to rush out to see it in theaters. Coming in at number 2, the Super Mario Brothers movie with another 18 million. That is at 518 million domestically. We talked about how it reached $1 billion at the box office last week. At 3, Evil Dead Rise with 5 million. That's at 54 million. Coming in at 4, Are You There, God? It's me, Margaret, with another 3.2 million, making its total rounding up to 12 million. And rounding out your top 5, Love Again, your other new release, with $2.3 million. Currently out in theaters, we have Book Club, The Next Chapter, and Rally Road Racers. But everyone get out of the way. Next week, Fast 10, Vin Diesel being all fast in your face for family, which I don't know why they just call it Fast Family at this point. That's coming out next week. So if you weren't looking for Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe it's because you're looking for Fast X. Let's get into some video game movie news then, and we'll start with the latest earnings call from Nintendo, where President Shintaro Furukawa assured the company's shareholders that Nintendo will be using Nintendo Pictures label to produce more movies based on Nintendo franchises in the future. Nintendo has revealed that the success of the Super Mario Bros. Movie has encouraged the company to produce more movies under the Nintendo Pictures label. They're taking a step out of the Sony playbook and the Sony PlayStation's label, Sony PlayStation Pictures label, where in front of Sony PlayStation properties that are getting film adaptations, like the upcoming Gran Turismo movie. What did we recently see it with? Uh, I'm blanking here. I recently saw it somewhere. The Ratchet and Clank film from a couple of years ago, um, where they're putting that logo in front of their movies. Nintendo will be doing the same with its movies going forward. Not to say that they won't be in a part of Illumination projects, but that they will help produce them under the Nintendo Pictures banner. This is yet another step of Nintendo taking hold of their IP and growing said IP into a multimedia business outside of games and toys and merchandising and getting into movies. So expect more Nintendo films. Interesting to see which one they will go next. There's been a bundle of rumors between like F-Zero, Star Fox, Kirby, even Legend of Zelda. So they have a lot of IP to choose from, and interesting to see where they go from here. But do expect it to be under Nintendo Pictures going forward. So congrats, Super Mario Brothers movie. You made your own studio out of this. All right, let's wrap up the news here with the Directors Guild of America. So while the Writers Guild is currently on strike, the Directors Guild and its contract is going to come up rather quickly here. So the Directors Guild of America has released a new video outlining its bargaining positions on the eve of its contract negotiations with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, which got underway this past Wednesday. The video features John Avnet, chair of the DGA's negotiating committee, and co-chairs Karen Gaviola and Todd Holland. They laid out their priorities, quote, for a strong contract that treats us fairly and allows us to share in the success of an ever-evolving entertainment industry, end quote. Some of the points that they are looking to address include securing wage increases that address inflation, maintaining the strength and sustainability of pension and healthcare plans, negotiating meaningful increases and structural changes to streaming residuals formulas. Once again, noting that streaming is a big point, healthcare is a big point, and securing wage against inflation. Those are the top 3 points that are also mimicked from the Writers Guild. Moreover, the DGA also wants to address protecting the role and visions of directors, protecting our jurisdiction over projects produced abroad for US audiences, meaning any projects that happen in the UK or even those in Australia and New Zealand that are specifically made for US audiences. Improving safety on the set by expanding and encouraging training and addressing long work days, increasing diversity, equity, and inclusion, and strengthening the voices of underrepresented people, and looking out for the full directorial team, meaning the assistant directors, the UPMs, the associate directors, stage managers, etc. The negotiations began on the 9th day of the Writers Guild strike. The DGA hasn't gone on strike since 1987, and even then, it was only for 3 hours and 15 minutes on the East Coast. Otherwise, it was 15 minutes on the West Coast before a deal was reached. The DGA's current contract with the AMPTP expires on June 30th. So there's currently 6 weeks of negotiation until we see the DGA on strike as well. Then everything comes to a halt. Currently, the Writers Guild is out there striking. Should the DGA also go on strike, it means you have no writers and no directors for your projects, Hollywood would come down to a halt. Um, do note that they're not doing this out of any malice, but because of the insane profits that these companies are bringing in on the backs of their workers, of their writers, of their directors, of everyone involved. That if they, I mean, they need to share in those profits. You can't just hoard all the profits for the top. One thing I saw was that for being a CEO, David Zaslav, his check or his bonus, not even his salary, his bonus was for $250 million, and even that in itself would be enough to pay for 10,000 writers. So you're looking at the difference between 10,000 people getting paid or just one person hoarding 10,000 people's wealth. So we'll also keep an eye out on the DGA as well as the WGA and see what happens, as could be a hot strike summer. All right, let's get into thoughts here as we wrap up this episode. And I'll watch something. Air. Maybe it has the subtitle Courting a Legend. Maybe it doesn't. I'm not sure. It's called Air. It was in theaters for a hot month. Currently available on Amazon Prime. It is produced by Amazon Studios. This is the Matt Damon, Ben Affleck starring vehicle about the Air Jordan shoe and how Nike was able to secure the deal with Michael Jordan prior to him playing in the NBA. And it's yet another one of these weird stories. Well, I don't know if it's weird or more commonplace stories. We saw it just last month with Tetris. We saw it a couple of years ago with the founder about McDonald's and how like they treat these very technical deals and make a movie about them. I think we have the upcoming one about like the hot Cheeto one, upcoming one about BlackBerry itself, about like just in general, like how these mega deals got started. Um, for those that don't know out there, Air Jordan, Michael Jordan, the Air Jordan shoes brings in like somewhere between like $4 billion a year just in the air, just in the Jordan branded shoes alone, and how that deal, and this is more or less a story about how one man was able to secure that deal for Nike through the Jordans and their family. Viola Davis in here as Dolores Jordan, Michael Jordan's mom. Very well done. I really liked her in this. I really like Matt Damon in this. I think he's hitting his notch here as a leading. He's always been a leading man, but as a leading corporate man, we saw this recently with Ford versus Ferrari. So him looking to be the next Tom Hanks of like the everyday uh, man who like saves corporate America, more or less to say. Um, but the one person that really feels out of place here is Ben Affleck. At times it felt like it was just Matt Damon and Ben Affleck role playing each other, especially when they're on screen at the same time. But anytime they were outside of being on the same screen, that's when they work together. I think there's some connection there that they're just like, oh, I'm just gonna like ham it up or like not necessarily like ham it up, but like fall back on my laurels, like, oh, it's just my friend here. Because they are friends. They've been friends for, oh god, it's been 30 years now since Good Will Hunting. Yeah, the 90s. Yeah. So I think there's too much of comfortability there for them to work on meaningful projects together. But outside of that chemistry, it's pretty good. It's hard to say if it's good or not because, like, being that the six is in the past and we're in the future here, we know how the deal plays out. We know that they're going to secure the deal. I have the same kind of weird feelings with Tetris in that a lot of this is um, drama for drama's sake. A lot of it is not necessarily exactly what happened, but we're going to visualize it in the best way that we can so that it's a dramatic representation, build it up for a dramatic sake. And in the end, we're going to just tell you, like, oh, yes, and here's how it all paid off in this $1 billion deal that they bet it all on one guy. Um, it's fine. mean, I think we have to compare between Ford versus Ferrari and this. I like Ford versus Ferrari better. As I mentioned when it came out, it's your dad's favorite film, or it's going to be your dad's favorite film. Air, not so much. It's a lot of like uh, talking, a lot of like court talking, not a whole lot of not court talking, but like legal jargon and like trying to sign contracts and speeches about hopes and dreams and legacy and what it all means. Uh, like I said, kind of in the same way that Tetris was, but in the same way, Tetris definitely hammed it up and definitely played into the very over dramatic dramatization. I think the same thing happens here with Air, especially when you cast someone in the role of Michael Jordan and then throughout the entire film you both don't show their face or let them speak. uh, Very unique choice of role, but I think that was done on purpose. So you don't necessarily need Michael Jordan's approval for it. He's just the stand-in body for the deals that happened surrounding Michael Jordan, not Michael Jordan himself. So it's a fine film. Uh, I have issues with the content itself, but it's fine nonetheless. Uh, with that, I don't think we have any fan questions, and I think I've hit this thing on the hour mark. So, with that, let's wrap this up. This has been another episode of the Media Boat Podcast. Oh, forgot to say it's episode 383. If you want to catch more Media Boat podcasts, you can find us on our website, mediaboatpodcast.com. You can search for us on YouTube, Media Boat Podcast. Uh, you can listen to any of our podcasts on your podcasting catcher feed. Find us on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcast, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. You can also find us on Twitter, unblue checkmarked at MediaBoatCast, Facebook, MediaBoat Podcast, Twitch at MediaBoat, where we'll be playing some more Jedi, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, maybe some more Redfall. If you want to ask us questions, tell us what we got wrong. Tell us what we should be covering. You can email us at mediabroadpodcast@gmail.com. That'll do it for us. Us meaning me, myself, and I. This has been a solo cast. We'll be back next. Hopefully, we will be back next week with both of us. Wishing Matt a healthy and speedy recovery. Next week we'll have more news, more thoughts, and more of us. Hopefully. Okay, bye. And that will wrap it up here. 1 hour done.